Ohayou gozaimasu! Okay, so new segment. We're going to call this one Car Coffee with Klav Thoughts. I'm going to do this. My commitment will be recording this on the way to work because it's sort of like journaling, a little bit of fun for you guys. So, it's Friday, so we go to work for 7 o'clock instead of 8. Also, spring forward is Sunday, so we will have that change pretty soon. So you're with me for now. So what are my thoughts, or the car thoughts for today? So one of my inspiring figures is Brian Kibler. He is a Magic Pro, now turned streamer slash game designer. Kind of a, you could say, personality. For a Magic person, I would say definitely a celebrity. And one type of video I always enjoyed from him was when he would analyze the game more like in a detailed way. So for example, in Hearthstone, that's the streaming that he does. A new set comes out and then he will analyze sort of where the metagame is at and how that goes. So, taking that spirit in mind, I want to talk about game theory, how games work, why do we play games, what's sort of the what's going on here? Because for me, my history with games pretty interesting. So, as a kid, I learned chess from my grandpa. The game of kings! So Opie, my grandpa, taught us chess. So I think from even a very, very young age, strategic planning, games and all that were pretty big for me. And I was the chess champion. I was pretty good. I had met a few friends that I've stayed in contact with through the chess club. So that's kind of cool. Those were my first friends when we moved here from Queens to Long Island. So that's kind of, it's kind of cool being like, nearly 30, 20, 25, something like that. Not 30, 20 something. So, right, I started with that and then I moved on to card games. Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and then eventually Magic. I haven't really done like Arcana, Digimon. I did do Dragon Ball Z. There's been a few versions, but the first version, the one that included like GT, that was an interesting game. So for other games, then like there's video games and such, mostly fighting games, Guitar Hero, Pokemon. So each of these kind of offers different pros and cons to playing the game. Board games I've done as well, a whole bunch. I moved to Go in college, and recently, like Pokemon Go has been sort of my strategic. But the game I really loved was the Wizards Unite, the Harry Potter version of Pokemon. I love that. It was really on point for capturing the imagery and all that. I think as a game it was a little bit better designed. The system of like prestiging, and eventually you had skill sets to improve your abilities, which would be interesting in Pokemon Go. And interestingly, in Pokemon recently for the Go Sinnoh Tour, they added a pass. It's obviously there was a pay to play. I did get the paid version. So that was as you did things, you progressed day to day as you sort of gained points, which I kind of like that system because then it does reward your efforts, and similar to consistency, the more you do something, then it does lead to goals. And I think if they implemented that with like shinies and stuff in the game, that would make it a better play experience because they're a frustrating thing. So I guess we'll do small rant to start. Frustration in Pokemon Go, the RNG with shinies is really annoying because you could put in time and just get nothing. So if there was a way, right, you to counter something like that, for guys, that would make it, right, like, you at least, you don't see something this many, but again, that takes away from, like, the fun of it. The PvP system's, like, pretty glitchy for Pokemon at the moment. Honestly, it seems they don't really care too much about the player. Like, they do enough, but there are times when they just don't show their care. So in terms of game design, Pokemon Go is very interesting because it's the first mobile game that requires you to go, like, location to location, which is cool. Like, I do enjoy walking, getting out, so that was the real draw for me. Not precisely Pokemon, but it was nostalgic, and I'd grown up on the first couple of games. So it's interesting enough that Pokemon has definitely evolved too as a game. So the first bunch of games are more, right, the turn-based, sort of like D&D, where you're, like, choosing a move, doing it then based on the stats of the move. Then other games have done, like, different systems, like puzzle games, picture games, adventure games. But the most recent one, Z, they're showing where you will move the Pokemon around and then do a move, which is very much in line with how the anime was, which always was kind of cool to watch as a kid and be like, oh, Pikachu, move and do Thunderbolt, which, that wasn't how the game was, but it was always cool to imagine that as you were doing your thing, it's like, oh, Pikachu, dodge, use Iron Tail. So it's kind of cool to see that. For me, I really do enjoy the additional forms or evolutions or megas of older Pokemon. So the Alolas, I really enjoy the Galar, the Sui, and probably the new megas coming with this game. So that's fun. So, right, back to games. So a few of the games I mentioned are just skill-based. Right, so, like, chess, Go, right, it's a known quantity. There are openings and all that theory, and you can really study that, and there's no luck. I guess, like, the luck being if your opponent makes a mistake and you knowing how to optimize that play pattern. So, now, the other side, something like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! Well, actually, even comparing the card games, they're all slightly different. So Magic, definitely a little bit of chess, a little bit of poker, because, right, you were drawing cards and there's some random chance. From what I've seen and heard of Yu-Gi-Oh!, it's very much like you try to get your setup, and then if your opponent doesn't have interaction, like called a hand trap, where they have a card that can interact with your combo, then you just win. So there's that. And Pokemon, the card game, has no interaction, or minimal interaction, where you play the cards and then you sort of do your turn. Your opponent doesn't really do much. So game design wise, right, if we're looking at board games and such, in what ways are you able to interact with other players? What elements are luck or chance? What kind of strategy is there? So, for example, something like Catan, there's pretty much, right, when choosing your initial spots, it's pretty like, yeah, this is the good one, like, right, just mathematically. But you can, like, depending on, like, what the resource, like, distribution you want, like, you maybe choose different ones and go for different strategies. And there's, like, the luck of the robber and the trading, right, that's tracking other players. So, okay, so I got a good one for you now. You're like, why are we here? So this is why you're here, because of the random stories. So there I was at the Pokemon Unova tour, trying to talk with people. That's what I really enjoy about the events. It brings people out, chat, we catch up. Obviously, preferred way is coffee. Obviously. But, old friend from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Days, married now, has a job, has 2 kids, and we chat a little bit, and he brought up a really good analogy, which he got from somewhere else. So for Magic, I'm also going to try to explain things as like simply without using too much jargon, because like if you notice with card games or any games, there are words that are kind of like, what is even going on? So for Magic, there's many ways you can play the game. You can play basically what happens and changes is the card pool that are allowed and potentially deck size, which can affect how long the games are. So for example, the most popular ones are called constructed formats, where you will build a deck, limit of 4 cards each, and basically you're going to be playing in tournaments or online now for Arena. That was a cool change with COVID that really brought Arena to the forefront. So those are usually best of one. Very much like Hearthstone, but it's very cool that you can jam so many games, which game design-wise is pretty cool. I don't have that, but it's definitely something to think about. So, what's the analogy here? So, most Magic players, and the driving force for Magic economy is Commander, or as us old-timey folks call it, EDH, Elder Dragon Highlander. It is basically, the idea is you're playing around a kitchen table with your friends and you're just, doing nonsense, doing all sorts of crazy. Basically, you can play all the crazy cards, all the crazy combos, all the shit you could think of, and it's like, oh, right, this cool, really cool, like memorable moments will happen. You're playing powerful cards, and this is just sort of describe like what that type of game is. So I usually, if I play these days, I'm playing that one because I prefer the social connection aspect of Magic, right? The Gathering. And my friend described this format as a board game. And I was like, oh, interesting. It's not really a game. It's more of a board game where you're like kind of doing stuff and like you don't know what's going to happen. The point being, you really can't. Well, no, you can, but it's hard to strategize because, right, you have all these other people doing other kinds of things. Where you can't, like in a one-on-one, it's very easy to design a deck to, beat one person. But when you have 4 players, 3 opponents, or more, even you can go up to 5 or 6 of those games are madness. So, right, you're not. If your object is to like win or like build a deck to do that thing, then there's like limited avenues, and there is a format called CEDH that is more like powerful, where you're just trying to win the game on the spot with like a combo or like a loop that basically moves, show okay, I can do this, I win, or it affects this, I win the game, which has actually really impacted the format recently. They banned a few cards that were deemed too powerful, and that format was. So it's just interesting from a game design perspective. So Wizards of the Coast is the company that runs Magic. You've probably heard of it. So they print the cards, they make money, they organize the events, they run Arena, etc. But until recently, that format, Commander, was basically in the hands of a rules committee that determined which cards were on the ban list or taken off, which is very interesting. But then it was taken over by Wizards, and then now recently they changed the system of what categorizes your deck based on how you build it. So basically there's like 5 tiers, and you get a tier based on the cards in your deck and how you're intending to play, how quickly the game can end, how powerful cards you're using in general, and the point being, for those who go to like the events, sort of like what kind of game can you expect going in, which I can appreciate from like my Starbucks experience, because this is trying to make every game, when you go out, because like, right, you're spending money, you're spending time, you're traveling, and then sometimes guys like, yeah, I'm playing this low-powered deck. Oh, turn 1, I win, and you're like, what the F, dude? Like, I came here to play a game. And then you feel like, all right, guys, do you want to like just like kick this loser out and like finish the game? Situation like that where it's like interesting. So One thing I do want to talk more about is the psychology of games, because I think that's really fascinating. My mini hobby is psychology, so I've been around with games forever, so I would love to do more content on that. I think it's definitely not really explored, and I think this form of video might be my fun and little expression for my friends or people. So I hope this is well received and liked. No, I don't care if you like it. Just share your opinion. I don't care. We can talk about it. Right? Let's not just be like, oh, you think different than me. You're wrong. I'm right. Classic these days, right? We can have different opinions. We can be like, cool. How do you see it? Great. I see it like this. Why do you see it like that? How did you come to see it? So it's oh, yay, dead animal on the road. Oh, poor guy. Raccoon didn't make it. We actually killed 7 mice in our house the other day. Well, the week. It wasn't one day. Yeah, 7. Well, it's been getting warmer, so they're either coming out, there's construction, finishing up a new house 2 doors down. Maybe there's a little something there. So, game design. Back to that. Yeah, so the Commander, it definitely is a mixed bag. Definitely closer to a board game. You don't really know what's going on. You're having fun. You're slinging spells. But I guess then, right, what is the interesting part is that, right, you have people, and this is maybe more on the psychological side, that you have people coming in with different ideas for how they want a game to go, and what they're trying to get out of the game, and then you have these different viewpoints on how a game should go or will go, and then they're playing the game together. So definitely something to think about. I have arrived at the work. We are slightly ahead of schedule, and yeah, there you have the games and stuff. So yeah, I think another dedicated video will be on the psychology of games. This is basic game theory, so this didn't go too much into it, but I think how are games designed, what experience are people trying to get from each game, what is important for strategizing, why are we playing games, right? The point is to connect with people and have fun, not to win. That difference I've seen a lot in the Magic, and that would be frustrating for people, because some, my friend who got me this job is hey, I have limited time, I have 3 kids, I have an ex-wife, I gotta pay for shit. It's I don't have time to BS with you trying to be all super winning. So there you have it. I will share more